Coming to you live from the Clamp Premier Regency Office Centre, it's the 10 Point Podcast. My name is Bruce, and welcome to the movie Police, just released, the 10 Point Podcast, though I really can't imagine why. Now, I know some people found this podcast fun, but me, I'd rather spend 90 minutes having root canal work done. What's fun about a podcast full of ugly, slimy, mean-spirited, gloppy little monsters who run amok and attack innocent people? Our podcast listeners so desperate for entertainment that this is the trash that passes for fun. With me this week, whoever they are, they've got to respect the chain of command. First, all I have is a cross-eyed puppet called Chris.
Oh, you cut him off there.
Yes, not this cross-eyed. A different cross-eyed puppet. And secondly, civilized, clearly not. Fun, but in no sense civilized. It's Andy.
I'll take that.
That's you. That's the gremlin that the smart one shoots on the edge of the sofa. We are the 10 Point Podcast. You can find us everywhere on the internet. Type in 10 Point Podcast. You will find our website, 10pointpodcast.com. And our various outlets, Amazon Music, Apple Music, and Spotify. Presumably, we have appeared in lots of people's Spotify Wrapped of 2023, I imagine. My own podcast did not crack my top 5, interestingly.
What's that about?
I have not listened enough back to it. Maybe if I'd started the pointies at this point, maybe it might have done, but unfortunately it was not. But let us know via Facebook, Twitter, YouTube videos, anywhere you can comment if we cracked your top 5 podcasts of 2023, because we know you're out there. We got a breakdown.
Was it top 20% in videos or something like that we got?
Something, yeah. Top 20% of people who make video podcasts or whatever it is on Spotify for the year.
Yeah, we're that. We're in 20%.
Yeah,
take that.
We've always said we like Spotify.
You just need the money now from Spotify. Give us some money.
Yeah, we need to get a sponsorship over there. Contact us. 10pointpodcast.com. You can donate, you can email, and contact us for sponsorship deals or anything else.
Keep us ad free.
Yes, keep us ad free. Very good. Or don't. I really want to read an ad copy. If you want to sponsor us and have an advert read out on the podcast, be in touch and I'll read out your advert.
It's definitely not going to be me or Chris to get hired for that. It's definitely going to be you. Burger King. YouTube. You know you want a Whopper.
I really like their most recent series of adverts prior to whatever they're doing for Christmas, where it's all about, we know we always ram the Whopper down your throat and you don't like it, so it's the Chicken Royale, the home of the Chicken Royale, which I thought was very smart marketing. YouTube, you get video versions, like you can on Spotify, where you can see our silly backgrounds and the hours I spent trying to get a good background for this week's episode, and that's the best I can come up with. Lamps, right. What was our highlight of the week before we get on to point number 1? Chris, what was your highlight of the last week? I should have started with Andy, but I said your name, Chris.
I watched off of Andrew's recommendation, the Squid Game series.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. Hooks in, like there's so many people that you just want eliminated, and then when you do, I was sitting there watching it at like 2 o'clock in the morning one night, and somebody eliminated. I was like, yeah, come on. I
could not do anything except watch episode 2 after watching episode 1. I was like, I have to keep watching. Like, there's no way.
Yep.
How deep is it? How many episodes are there in total?
Well, me and Chris got fucked by this one.
Right. Okay.
Right. Told you I've
not watched them all, put this way. So,
well, they obviously did 2-parters, so they did like the first 4, I think it was, and then it leaves.
The last thing I watched was War. That was the last thing I watched.
So no, there was 4 episodes, and then there was a week gap. And I was like, because they just leave you a cliffhanger. I was like, and then they release another 4 episodes, and it gets like pretty much. It's like, all right, it's 1 episode left. I'm putting that on, and then it just ends. It's like, where's the next episode? So obviously they're releasing that next week as well. So they're like generally like just release 4, and I think it's 1. I think it's 9 episodes, maybe 10. I don't know. They eke a few bits out.
You never told me this, and I got to like the 4th episode, and I was watching going, there's still like hundreds of people. They're gonna have to like brutalize everybody here for this last episode, and then it never happened. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's over 3 weeks.
I am the most behind, so I will go into a bit more detail on things. Yes. So basically, I enjoyed the first episode. However, for me, my memory, it comes to the biscuit with the pin game, where you have to scratch your shape. That's when I was shouting at my television. Now, I've never been in so much support of someone on television in my life as I was when the first 4 went out into the yard thing to pick your shapes. And the one guy was being forced to take Umbrella. And I was like, no, stand your ground. They've all just decided they're having the other ones. They don't get to decide for you you're having Umbrella. And the guy was standing strong and it's like, we're all going to get eliminated if you don't do it. And I'm like, you stay strong, mate. Don't make them force you to take Umbrella. And then he took them down with him. And I was like, yes. I was like, so unfortunately, my favorite guy on the TV show was eliminated at that point. So it's kind of a struggle. But then Spencer stepped in.
The noises he was making was unreal. It was like, I was like, it's right on his throat as well, so you can hear everything.
And it's like, because obviously it's kind of manufactured for a television show, but like anytime anyone did anything that might have, like, I don't know, had an impact on him, they had a shot ready for him going like every single, so any reaction to anything happening was him vomiting. But
there was a simple solution: just rock, paper, scissors. Then the 2 winners go rock, paper, scissors. Then whoever lost gets the last one.
And
it's that simple.
You then pick. Yeah, exactly. I thought about that. I think the one guy was like, "We're going to have a race." Okay, go.
He was
and I'm running to the easiest one. You all lose. Ha.
He was like, okay, on 3, 1, he's off.
Yeah, I was running definitely before goal. But the peak of the whole thing happened when Spencer was doing his particular umbrella, and he just cut to his little tin, and it's just filled with some sort of bodily fluid that he had produced. And I was like, oh god, disgusting. But I won't go any further than that for any spoilers. But yes, I can't believe how much this reality show has properly hooked me in.
I'm enjoying, like I said, it doesn't have the backstory of like Squid Games, like the guy sneaking out or whatever, or something else going on. Yeah. It's just contestants, and like I said, the casting's unbelievable. Like I've heard like little rumors coming out, and people are all like, "Oh, I'm suing this because I got injured," and that's like, nobody got injured. They're all just trying to get more money out of this bullshit. Right. But like, I really do hope, like, if there is a planet or if there was a mole or whatever they did, like, there's a behind the scenes thing afterwards, like, and it's just like this TV series. But I think this is just all like genuinely real, because you can see the focus on somebody, especially even the first couple episodes. Like, right, we're focusing. Fuck, they died. Right, we'll go that you want this person now. Here's another person that you don't know about, but you like them now.
Yeah, they've really struck a favorite, and then I'm not going to say who gets eliminated stuff, but when you watch it and out of nowhere they're just gone. And
it's brutal.
And they struck that good balance with here's this person, here's this person, here's this person, here's this person, and then you don't know. It's like, oh, we know a lot about them, but we know a lot about them. It's like, oh, actually, 2 of them have now gone, but you know about these ones. So then you see, you bring in some more, and then one of the new ones is gone and one of the old ones is gone. Like, they do a good job of introducing enough characters that you're not sure. Like, certain reality shows, we've seen a lot of Jim this week. He's definitely getting eliminated, and he does. Like, they've got a good balance on the Squid Game.
I know the very last 2 episodes that Chris had a bit of an issue with. I was watching them, and I'm just like, I've watched this for 1 hour and 40 minutes, and I can't believe I've watched 1 hour and 40 minutes of what is happening. Is unbelievable, and I'm like, I want more. Like, I was literally.
The issue was the fact that I thought the second half was going to be the end of it. I wasn't expecting this little episode at the end. That's what I was meaning. They're eking this out because
they are eking it out, but like there's like, because they changed some of the games, they changed, like, they put their own twists in it and stuff like that. But
there's a belt coming up, by the way, Bruce.
7 and 8, Bruce. It was 1 hour and 40 minutes between them 2 episodes, and like once you've watched them, you're like, did I really just watch that for 1 hour and 40 minutes? And I was like, it never felt like it, and I was just like, I was hooked. I was just like, fucking hell, this show doesn't make sense why it's that good.
One last thing, did you notice the cameo in the first episode that I completely missed?
Oh yeah, the cameo
in the first
in Red Light versus Green, or Red Light, Green Light.
I don't think I did. So
it was Wolf from Gladiator.
Oh really? Was he in it?
Never noticed it, and it was all over social media, and I was like, I got to go back and watch
Gladiator
this.
Was in.
Oh right, I'm assuming they got eliminated.
He was out straight away.
Don't know when.
Yeah, at some point in the background. Andy, we'll go over to you, because Chris, that was my highlight as well, Chris. So you and I have covered it, and Andy also seemed to like it as well. So Andy, what was your highlight that was separate from Squid Game?
I finished off Squid Games, and then I went and watched something else that kind of is Squid Game-esque, which was the new Hunger Games prequel.
Hunger Game, yes.
2 hours 40 minutes.
That's long.
It is long, and it is unnecessary.
Right, okay.
Now,
What, the time or the film?
the film, like I'm a big Hunger Games mark. I love everything the Hunger Games stands for.
Right.
Like
I did not know.
I'm just like, I love the idea. Let's kill a bunch of people, one winner, job done. This film has a big issue where ultimately, if you've not watched Hunger Games, there's a guy called Snow. He's the big bad president of the 4 Hunger Games films. This film's all about him, and he is a very nice person in it.
Ah, okay. Right.
It's ultimately the biggest problem because you're following him. You've got another person that's basically like Katniss Everdeen in it, and it follows her and him. And it doesn't make any sense at all. And then suddenly, after maybe the first 40 minutes, I'm like, ooh, right, okay. Hunger Games begins. It takes 40 minutes to get into the Hunger Games.
Right, so there's got 2 hours of it.
And then I was like, right, okay. And after about 30 minutes, the Hunger Games is over. I'm like, all right, well, what we're going to do here for the next hour and 20 minutes. And then it kind of ends, and I'm like, right, they either need to put 3 more films in here to explain why he's a full-on bell end,
Right,
or
yeah.
I've got to take one hell of a leap of faith. Now, don't get me wrong, there is bits like you see his character development, but ultimately, like the first 2 hours, he's a pretty nice guy. Like he's there. I understand it. Like I understand the kind of the beginning of the Hunger Games. I get it because it's like it's not even the first Hunger Games. It's like the 10th one in. Like it's not even like how the Hunger Games were created. It was just
I thought it was about the first one.
No. That's what I thought.
I mean,
too.
I thought I did as well, I think, actually. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's really just it's a weird film. I enjoyed it. Like nothing was bad about it. I just kind of came out going, nah. Like I don't know. It'd be like watching a film about I don't know somebody is really bad, but they're making them really good. I can't think of
Darth Vader. It'd be like making 3 movies about Darth Vader when
Yeah,
he was a
exactly.
good guy.
It doesn't really work, does it? You're like, oh, he's actually quite nice. Oh,
That's a great choice, actually.
it's exactly that is the best way to explain it. Is that it's just like, and by the end of it, you're like, it's like where Star Wars gets it right is Vader was a badass as a kid. Now when you watch him, like, no, he was that Anakin kid, so he kind of ruins him. Whereas Hunger Games have got it the other way around. It's like, oh, Snow's a big bell end, but he's really nice there. It's like
he used to be cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I can't get that leap. So that's my only criticism of it. Like other than that, it's a good film.
Okay, so it's good. A thumbs up at least for the Hunger Games. What's it called? Like
Snakes and Songbirds or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Game of Thrones-esque, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Unnecessarily long titles seems to be a new thing that's coming out in movies this most recently. Anyway, there we go. That's the highlights of the
fucking epically long soon.
Yeah. Oh God, I thought about that. This one isn't bad. Point number 1 this week is what's the point? The point is the 1990 comedy fantasy horror Gremlins 2: The New Batch, written by Charlie Haas, not the 3-time WWE Tag Team Champion.
I really thought it was. I was like, what?
A writer of movies such as Over the Edge. He was an uncredited writer on Tron. There's the first one, which is in the news now that I've seen the word Tron written down. What the hell are Disney doing? Like, you could not have made Tron Legacy any better than what it did. So they're making a sequel to that where everything is different. Yep. Stars, writers, directors, everything is different in this new Tron movie. It's a shambles. And I'm annoyed.
Doing a new one.
Yeah, they're doing a new one, and everything is different. I don't know if it's even different characters. It might be like a whole new set of people, but yeah.
I think Jared Leto was the only one that was meant to still be in it.
Right, okay. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it after what they set up with perfect Tron Legacy. Anyway, uncredited writer on Tron, Martians Go Home, Gremlins 2, and then something called Matinee. So Charlie Haas is most famous for being WWE Tag Team Champion. Hence why when you type that name in, it is him that comes up first. Directed by, returning from the first Gremlins, Joe Dante. Or Joe Dante, I think it is Dante. Famous for directing The Howling, Gremlins 1, Gremlins 2, Inner Space, and Small Soldiers. We'll talk about him in the first Gremlins episode way back 2 seasons ago. So go have a look at that for him. Speaking of the first Gremlins podcast that we did, stars as Billy Peltzer, Zach Galligan. Famous for being in Gremlins, basically. Surviving Waxwork and Madness in the Method. We talked about all those on the first Gremlins podcast. Zach Galligan back as Billy. So is Phoebe Cates as Kate, confusingly again. Famous for Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Chris?
Drop Dead Fred.
But Fred, very good. That's what you said was her main role, but then you kept referring back to Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Private School, and the Gremlins movies, and Phoebe Cates, who basically retired
Give me
after.
the spot. I don't know what you're talking about.
Phoebe Cates, Zach Galligan, both back in the title main acting roles for the sequel. But new people coming into Gremlins 2 as Daniel Clamp, John Glover, famous for Masquerade, Scrooged, Gremlins 2, Batman, the animated series, and other Batmans, because he often plays the Riddler, Edward Nygma, in these animated things. But in the original OG 92 animated series, he was the Riddler. He was also in Batman and Robin, but not as the Riddler. After that, something called In the Mouth of Madness, Payback, and then seemingly, I'm no expert, a big role in Smallville. Can anybody speak on Smallville and tell me whether it was a big role or not?
I remember.
Mike's his dad.
Well, there you go. That's a very big role, I would say then. He's in a lot of episodes, but I
can't remember his name.
Yeah, I could remember because he was in like 100 something episodes of it, or maybe not that many. But he had a whole different character names, and I'm like, are they all the same one, or what's happening here? But yeah, I did see a Luther.
Most of the Smallville thing turned into bad guys and superpowers and shit like that. Anyway,
right? Okay, but I think I did see a Luther, so definitely significant role in Smallville. That seems to be the last biggest thing Daniel Clamp
these
did.
podcasts are contagious and just give me cold straight away.
You seem to get ill at any time we start doing it. Yes, and the fourth star, as credit order would lead you to believe, as Grandpa Fred, Robert Prosky, famous for Thief, Christine, The Natural, Hill Street Blues, Broadcast News, Gremlins 2, then Mrs. Doubtfire and Dead Man Walking. However, I don't think he was Dead Man Walking. I did not nominate him for this film. Grandpa Fred, he is not the grandpa from the Munsters, but he looks like him.
Every single time. I think it's the same
that's
guy.
what I had in my head there. I'm saying, I'm waiting for you to say the Munsters.
that is not him, but yes, clearly meant to be the grandpa from the Munsters. Gremlins 2 made on a budget of $50 million, opened in the US $10 million, final US gross just $41.5 million. Worldwide, I don't have a number for the worldwide, but on the Gremlins 1 podcast, I theorized this lost money, therefore we did not get a Gremlins 3 in the 90s. So presumably it lost money. We are now getting a Gremlins 3 at some point. It is in production or pre-production or whatever you would say about it.
But cartoon as well, haven't I got that?
And yes, there was a cartoon came out last year, about a year ago, 6 months maybe.
Something like that.
But yes, lost money, presumably with all the promotions and all that. Released 15th of June 1990 in the US, 27th of July 1990 in the UK, because this is absolutely not a Christmas movie, which I was afraid that it was, so I made sure I got it in November. Obviously, it'll be December when it comes out, but we recorded this in November. We laughed last time because Gremlins 1 came out in June in America. Movie. So this came out exactly 6 years after it did the first one, to the week. So yes, a summer movie. That meant the 1991 awards season, about 9 months after, was when it mainly went into its award categories. It received 6 nominations for awards in total, and no others, only 6. And all 6 were at the 1991 Saturn Awards.
Yeah, boy.
Once again, Saturn Awards showing its true worth in the awards realm. So it's 6 nominations at the podcast awards, the Saturn Awards. Best music. Yeah. Best music. It lost to Back to the Future Part 3 for the music. Best special effects. It lost to Back to the Future Part 2 for the special effects. Yes, they were both nominated because they both came out within a 12-month period. Back to the Future 2 and 3. Yeah. So they were both in the same category.
I thought there was a couple of years between them.
They made them at the same time and then released them quite close together. So
who knew?
Me. Best director, Joe Dante. He lost to James Cameron, not for the biggest films he made around then, but for The Abyss, which was, I guess, one of his least popular, but still well-known movies. Yeah, from the early 90s. It wasn't Terminator, it wasn't Aliens, but it was
Inception.
All of that.
He's like,
2 nominations in Best Supporting Actor. Let's have a wee fun game. Can you name the 2 Best Supporting Actor nominees from this pretty much ensemble film that we just watched?
Gizmo.
Nope.
Dick Miller.
Nope. I thought it might be him when I saw there was 2, but no. Right, one more guess each.
Hulk Hogan.
Robert Picardo.
Nope. Robert Picardo was 1, yes. I don't know how or why, but Robert Picardo. And then John Glover, Mr. Clamp.
He was my last choice.
Yeah, I think he is worthy maybe of being a best supporting actor. Robert Picardo's in about 5 scenes, maybe less. But they both lost to Tom Wilson for Back to the Future Part
1.
no. Part 3, where he was the cowboy version of Biff Tannen, or at least his ancestor. So not for being Biff in the future or the past. For playing 2 roles, he only got it for playing the 1 role. Final nomination for Gremlins 2, Best Fantasy Film of 1991. It lost to Ghost. And I want to accept that, because you guys will scoff at Ghost, and I'm going to tell you, Ghost's actually a good film. So Chris, remember that. Ghost's actually a good film.
I've seen it. It's shite.
It's good. Synopsis for Gremlins 2, brought to us by, like it was in episode 1, in Gremlins 1, Thesaurus Nick. He did a hilariously wordy synopsis for me last time, so let's see what he's got. And yes, he keeps coming up now, Nick. He's picking the right movies like we are. Having survived the destructive Kingston Falls incident in Gremlins, said the thing, I guess, Billy and Kate moved to New York City, eager to wipe the slate clean and start afresh. He's got, by the way, even fancy there. Instead, orphaned Mogwai Gizmo catches the eye of evil scientist Dr. Catheter in money-grubbing tech mogul Daniel Clamp's colossal high-rise. And once more, a splash of water spawns hordes of mischievous gremlins. As a result, the pesky little creatures start doing what they do best, wreaking havoc. But the rules were simple. Now the city is about to taste a hearty slice of pure pandemonium. Do they have what it takes to escape the nightmare of the new batch? He doubled down and said both things. Who picked? It was I who picked Gremlins 2, because I love Gremlins 2, and I had to pick Gremlins as a Christmas movie last year so that I could get this one picked, and I wasn't sure if this was Christmassy in any stretch, so I tried to squeeze it in here, and I love Gremlins 2. Has everybody else seen it before?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Many times.
You know what, now that you mentioned the fact that you thought it was Christmassy, I can't seem to remember Christmas trees and stuff. So
I thought there was a big Christmas tree at the end, in the middle bit. Like, I thought there was a Christmas tree in the lobby.
New York City projects Christmas. I think if a film is set in New York and it's not full-on Die Hard 3, it's to me, it's probably set at Christmas because it's in New York. Which channel would you normally find it on?
Oh, this is
I'm going to say BBC.
I'd have said BBC as well. This is also... This is definitely on a short list of, if it's on and I'm flicking around the channels, I'll press the button on that channel and see what bit it is. It's definitely this. This is one of those. Where are we? Over there. I'll watch a bit. Which version did we watch? Presumably we all watched the theatrical version, because it seems to be the most prevalent now is the theatrical version. I can see why the home video one wouldn't be as popular in the UK. In the home video release, the Gremlins in the middle of the film don't break the projector in the cinema. They break the VCR that you are watching the home video on. And then John Wayne shouts at them rather than Hulk Hogan. So maybe Hulk Hogan might have had a more international appeal than John Wayne maybe did in, I guess, the early 90s. Presumably. I mean, Hogan was pretty popular in 1990, 1991, I'll tell you that much. So, yes, we all watched the theatrical version where Hulk Hogan. That's the only one I've seen. I've never seen the John Wayne one.
No, I've never seen John Wayne either.
Okay, on to point 2, the high points. What is the best bits and things were about Gremlins 2, the new batch? Whoever picked goes first. That's me. I'm just going to say I've got a bonus Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck.
I genuinely thought I was watching the wrong film because I don't remember that at all.
I'll throw it in here. I never ever see before Mr. Clamp arriving in the office. I think that's where I always come into this. Like flicking around, it's always 15, 20 minutes into it, maybe less. And Mr. Clamp says, he's here. And he walks up to Billy's desk and sees the drawing. That's always where I start. So I might never have seen Bugs Bunny and Daffy, because apparently that has been cut out. Some television broadcasts don't have the wee bit at the beginning. And then all the bits come before that I've seen before, but not every time. But yes, bonus cartoon's always nice.
Yeah, I seem to remember him being in the Clamp Towers, like Gizmo, and then being in Billy's drawer, and that's it. I remember from there. I don't remember how he got to Clamp Towers and stuff.
Which actually was the point last week when I was asking, do we think it's a Christmas movie? Was it, me and Andy both had the Mandela effect of we remembered Billy going to the shop and getting him.
Yep.
It doesn't happen. So it's like, it shows how often we missed the beginning of this film.
But that's the bit I like. Just when Gizmo pretty much comes in straight away and he's watching Rambo, I'm all in. And Mr. Miyagi's like, no, you're not allowed to watch TV.
Mr. Wing. I don't think we didn't get his name in the first one. He was just old Chinese man. Yeah. So he is Mr. Wing now. And it doesn't last very long after being named, unfortunately. So my first high point after Bugs and Daffy is Gizmo in the lab, to be honest. I don't have much. It's a high point before that.
They've definitely upped their effects in this one, because there's a lot more full scale, not full scale.
And I know somebody might put it in a low point because Chris has got a hard on for bad CGI. The bit where Gizmo comes out in like the kind of semi-daylight, which we'll get into later on, and he's doing his little walk. I'm just like, you know what? I'm fine with it because he looks cute as fuck.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it really is. And then like my next high point is Gizmo dancing in the lab to the music.
Yes.
Like that's perfect as well. That's perfectly acceptable with the guys dancing in the background like this.
I'm gonna say it now. There's absolutely no CGI in my low points.
There you go, because nobody's all over this.
I don't think I do either.
I mean,
it's if it stands out badly, like you do have to grade on a bit of a curve. Like, obviously, the Wizard of Oz, the CGI is not going to be great. Like it's you have to be,
but no, just
you have to kind of measure it.
The very first time you see a full shot of Gizmo running, it's just like Baby Yoda did that, and like it wasn't half as good as this.
Like all of them, they all just seem to be a lot more.
Oh yeah, like they've upped their models.
Yeah,
definitely, and they all have a bit more character. Did they all speak? Am I crazy, or did Gizmo not say as many words in the first one as he was?
Yeah, he's definitely more talkative. I think he's watched more telly. But the other one's dead, like Stripe. Well, I think Stripe was the only one that really kind of semi-talk, but he'd always say like one word, like
I don't Gizmo.
Yeah,
Gizmo was always the one. Yeah.
But yeah, no, these ones all have a bit more language.
That's like we for all the listeners, I listened to or watched, I should say, our Gremlins 1 review this week just to kind of get a feel for it, and we all knew this film accentuated the positives from the first one, and it really goes all in on these little critters are the stars. Yes. It's like there may be 40 people, whatever it is, acting in this film, but people are here to watch the Gremlins do Gremlin stuff. That's why they've gone Mogwais to be cute, Gremlins to be crazy, and that's why people have come out to watch the sequel. So that this film does that very well. Anyway, that'll come up, I imagine, in high points. Chris, any high points from you?
Yeah, well, there's a few coming up later on, but the technicians asking the important questions about the rules after everything goes all chaotic is them going, what if you fly over and you eat something at 11:59 and then you go over at 12 and then come back? Or like the time differences. What happens is, I don't know.
It's all the questions that we asked in the first one.
Exactly.
It is literally, Chris literally asked what happens about time zones. So Chris you incepted yourself, I think, with having remembered from Gremlins 2 they asked this question. But yeah, you literally asked.
Smart for me.
Like you're like, what happens if you go from one time zone to the next? And I was like, well, it had to fly from China at some point. So it's like it has crossed time zones. Like the little Chinese guy got it from somewhere. So, but yes, it is absolutely perfect that this film, it's a self-parody, which is why I think I love it so much. Is it makes fun of what Gremlins are as much as it actually shows what Gremlins are, and that seems exactly. These are all the questions everyone's got. These rules are daft. You can't. All three of them don't actually make any sense if you think about it and all that. It's a brilliant.
What I was not prepared for is this little bugger jumping out the screen though. I completely forgot about it. They're just like talking about, oh, let's get back to work. Absolutely crap to myself.
So that's the jump scare of the week.
Absolutely.
Again, off podcast, I don't know what these Gremlins are called. I just called this one the Hyper one, and that one I remember Stripe.
Mohawk, I think.
Yeah, Stripe in the first one, so I just thought he was the same guy basically, but he's called Mohawk apparently, and then there's other ones have daft names. I've already mentioned Mr. Clamp. I need to touch on him. So him arriving is where I always start this film.
I've got Mohawk up there.
And him coming in and liking what Billy's doing, and then proceeding to not be a complete dick throughout the film. Well, this is a nice breath of fresh air. Here's the rich, crazy businessman who owns the whole building. He's the boss of everybody. Everybody's scared of him. He's actually just a bit mad, but he's a nice guy, and he wants to. Yeah, exactly. It's a nice twist on that.
He probably could have started off as like, I don't know, like they could have made him out to be an eccentric nutter who's just like a really bad guy. He's like, oh, I want that, and I'm going to take over the world. But he's like you said, he's a really nice guy.
Just Count Dooku was the bell end.
Yeah, he was. But even then, he was just for science, really. He wasn't like.
I didn't think he was that bad. I mean, when things went wrong, he tried to help out.
He also bit the bullet as well. Yeah. So, that goes basically straight into my next high point, which is the water fountain scene that leads into the spawning.
Yep.
With the spray of water.
If Gizmo just stayed there, he was fine. Why did he have to run?
And he's going, we all know what happened here. And I'm running around with little arms. And then the water going that way, and then the water going that way. And then, obviously, finally getting got. Apparently, that's the guy famous playing Gomez Adams in the Adams Family, is the guy.
Apparently, Gizmo says Gomez when he walks past.
Right, okay. Yeah, there are these little hidden bits of script for Gizmo. Like, he says the actor's name towards Mr. Wing in the shop. Kiye Luke. Gizmo says that at one point when he's referring, looking, whatever you want to say, talking to the old man in the shop. So Gizmo has a full script. Howie Mandel, which I didn't know was the voice of Gizmo, he had the actual script of lines he had to say and all that. So there are a lot. Any other high points? I've got a bunch more. Some small, some large.
Mine's just when it all kicks off. Like you've got Gizmo where loads of things, even straight away, it's like there's no dicking around this time. It's just like, oh, he's got wet, and then it's suddenly like, boom, they're all here, and they're all just being literally like twats everywhere.
Yeah.
The kind of food court scene where they're all kind of like appearing out the food, and then they're eating, and then they go and do the cocoons. That's where it all starts getting good. And then him.
It's just one high point.
This is what I remember.
The smart one is always the one I remember from this one. The one who can talk after.
I can never remember how he could talk. I just remember him being able to talk. So I actually jog seeing him drink that brain juice.
The brain juice, yeah. And then we had the vegetable juice, and then we had the transition juice. That means that something we asked in the first one is that are all gremlins male? I think they are, because the only female one we ever see has a transition potion that they take to become a woman.
Her humping Forster's leg was quite funny. And he's shaking off, it's just like hanging on like that.
If I forget to come back to them when we get past low points, remind me to come back to Robert Forster and her at the end of the film, because I have some questions and bits that I might forget to. We'll skip by one small point. I found myself just laughing at the Canadian themed restaurant they went to. I do not remember. I remember the scene. But I don't remember it being like a Mountie with a moose being like, do you want some more moose? And they've got like a giant moose head like between them as they're trying to have a conversation. It's just a hilarious sort of, what's the funniest themed restaurant we could do? How about Canadian? Do you want a Molson? Like the one lager that's famous from coming from there was good. And then I enjoyed the Futtermans coming back, Mr. and Mrs. Futtermans. Still freaked out by the experience that he went through Murray, and then still a racist, hating the Russians and all that. I thought it was funny as well. So I did like seeing them again. I quite liked their little storyline outside the building and him be like, it's happening again. Him kind of somehow in all of New York, Murray
PTSD.
Find his way exactly to where the hive it's all happening, despite not being from there. It was quite funny. And then, like I say, when the Mogwais take over, I love my boy Daffy. He absolutely any scene he was in cracked me up. The one with the hyper one, as I called him. The scene where Kate goes to pick up Gizmo and it's actually him that's there. And him trying to, it's just, I don't know why it just made me laugh so much. And then whenever he runs off around a bend going mad, it just cracked me up. I love Daffy. I've got bits and bobs of here.
I've got basically anytime Gizmo does anything, and like when the Gremlins are being dicks to
main high point.
Yeah, when the Gremlins are being dick to him, and it's just building up the rage and Gizmo. And
Gizmo's torture scenes are hilarious. In the photocopier, and then they run over with a train.
And then he's just getting angrier and angrier, and then suddenly he just snaps. And he's got his little montage of him being Rambo, including the bit I completely forgot, where he's like lifting the weight and then he just powers to the table. I was like,
I was considering the Gizmo training scenes and thinking, my train of thought this time went that he tries to lift weights to become tough and fails. So he tries to box and fails. So I was like, oh, sod it, I'll just go make a bow and arrow. That's how I think he goes. In the past, I thought he trains to become a movie hard man, but he actually doesn't. Everything goes badly. Sod it, I'll make a bow and arrow and I'll stay at my distance. Seems to be
I realised he was firing Tipex. I thought it was a marshmallow.
Yeah, that's the first time I noticed it was Tipex as well, which is a good sign. Is
I've got that up there as well.
Oh, that's right. You said that. Yeah, you got
I go get my props. I'll back.
You go get them. I'll do one of my small points when you're away. Then when Kate's in the elevator and it's like a voice-activated elevator, and they don't go to her floor, and she gets it to stop, and then she just goes sound alarm, and it's a pause, and you hear wah, 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 as all the gremlins start making the noise. I was just about in tears laughing at that. One small stupid joke just cracked.
I'm back.
He's back. Is Gizmo back?
I've got some props.
I've got some props.
Yes.
There he is.
These little
And it's
Tipex.
Tipex. Yeah. Very
And-
good.
And then I've also got you got to have them as well to go with them.
I'm pretty sure you brought this bad boy out during the first
I'm
one.
going to
No,
say
I
if
brought
it's,
the
if
big
it's
one.
oh,
Oh.
here we go. There he is.
Walk. But yeah, I've got Stripe from the first one, but he's got 2 cans of beer because I customized him.
He joined us on the podcast last time.
He was but yeah, this one's my favorite one.
It's cool. I like it. I've always wanted a Mogwai. Like they make the joke in the film at the very end where he's like, "I want to merchandise
the marketing and
the sucker cups on the side." Everyone had a gizmo in the back window of the car
Why
for
did they
5 years.
not make it as big as Furbies? Surely they'd be 10
Well-
times bigger as Furbies.
that's coming up in low points.
Okay.
Right, okay, we'll get there.
Yeah.
I've got
After this scene with the spider one.
Oh, it's fine. That was terrifying. I remember that as a
Yeah,
kid.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh, yeah.
That scared the shit out of me.
I remember.
I've got it for nominations for best music later on. I did not anticipate that when the guy's drinking the spider juice and turning into the spider, that we were going to get as the musical accompaniment "Angel of Death" by Slayer playing in the background. I was like, why does this scene go so hard? My God,
Yeah.
well, this is amazing. I went and looked up the soundtrack. Like, it's a Slayer song. No wonder it's Slayer in the soundtrack here. So that's my nomination for best song. Is Slayer playing behind the spider Mogwai. I have a guess as a high point. Not I don't know. Always do this, but I've got in my. I bet I can guess one of Andy's high points. Is what I've got written down here. And you haven't mentioned it, so I think I've failed. But I bet one of Andy's high points is the return of the Flasher Gremlin. I thought you would. I thought you would go crazy. A little cameo. That could be best cameo if you want, Chris. I don't know, but I thought just freaking out Kate in the hallway again, just like
just like when Jade used to do it all the time. Remember when Jade used to do that randomly in shops to Danny?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. That's right. What happened to that? I actually rid of that coat. I only have 2 more kind of high points.
I've got
One
loads
is
of high points, but they're all just like all over the shop. So
little bits, really.
Yes.
Yeah. When the Gremlins stop the movie, as referenced earlier,
I love it.
I always remember this bit where the damn Gremlins cease the projectionist, and then the guy's like, I know what to do. I'll go get Hulk Hogan. And he'll tell them off. And it's like, yeah, Hulk Hogan before everything happens, Hulk Hogan. But I enjoy that bit of the film. I do like these sort of weird sort of movie within a movie kind of Inception style bits. I don't know what you call it that. And I have one more high point, so fire off with any others you've got, Chris.
My last one is the end, like melting of all the gremlins.
That must have cost some money. That's a scene. That is an epic scene, because before that, you've got like every one of their puppets out there, all the gremlins. They're all different characters. You can see them. Like you stop any like, there's not like just duplicates. They're all different. And then suddenly it just looks like they've just burnt and melted them all and destroyed them all. It's like, what?
It looks horrible. All just like everything is melting. It looks eyes popping. It's just
including Bruce's point later on. I'm melting.
Oh, right, yes. Very good. I'll go into that in a bit more depth. My last high point is something I didn't realize because I wasn't that familiar with the first one until we'd seen it, which is they mention Abraham Lincoln, and then Kate goes off to do basically a version of her monologue from the Christmas one, where it's like, oh, don't mention Christmas to me, my father, blah, 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 blah. She starts talking about Abe Lincoln, and I was in the park, and this guy that came up, and he was just like, no, stop. Just usher her away.
You can kind of guess what the story is, but I was quite disappointed they didn't finish it like we did in the first one, because that was the thing. I read somewhere that the first one about the dad getting stuck up the chimney was supposed to be all serious, but everybody found it hilarious. So then they kind of did a wee parody in this one. We just try to find a funny story. I
think we gave it best Michael Pena at the point he's that year. I think it deserved it if it didn't win it. And that was my last high point. Hilariously awful. It's like, oh, what is the story doing? Any more from you, Andy?
No, like I said, it's literally all my high points are just everything the Gremlins do.
Basically, yeah. I know there might get more pop up as we go through.
Oh, one more. The Batman symbol. Fly through the wall.
Yep.
A good gag as well. Point 3, the low points. What was the worst bits and things where?
Right, I've got a serious one. Robert Picardo's hair. Because it freaks the fuck out of me. Because I know this guy is the hologramic doctor from
Voyager.
And then obviously he's in Stargate Atlantis and Stargate, and it's just like, He's just the bald doctor. Even in what do you call it when he's the taxi driver? It doesn't look like he's got that much hair.
Total Recall.
Total Recall, like
Total
when
Recall.
he's the robot. But this has just got like a magnificent set of hair, and it's just like, nope, you're freaking me out. I don't like it. And every time he comes on scene, it's just like, nope, I can't take you seriously. I don't like it. I think it's mostly because his hair, nothing else he does, just his hair.
Nothing else. No. My first low point. Why did they just demolish the shop with all the stuff in it?
That was my big one. That it's like they didn't even look. It was like it could have been like a gold mine in there.
Well, we all know Chinese stuff's worth a fortune.
Yeah, and it's like
Ming vase or something like that.
Where's Mr. Wing's grandson, the one that sells the gizmo in the first film?
Actually, that's
like he needs to sign off on that shop doesn't automatically go to the Clamp organization. I'll go to somebody else, probably the grandson who worked there. This is 6 years later, so probably in his teens at this point. They can't just demolish, and it's like, there's surely nothing in there. We'll just stick a JCB through the roof; it'll be fine. It's very, very fake, I should say. That's not how things work in the real world. So that was my first low point. Also, one of my low points, I can't be arsed debating the rules of Mogwais again. Yes, we all know they're stupid, they don't make sense. And that is a flaw with the movies. However, they address it in this film. But a low point is still the rules of Mogwai.
There was one point where, was it one of them was just getting, soda just pumped into his mouth and it was fine? Like the same way we were drinking beer in the first one. It's just like, that's water, isn't it?
That's water, yeah, exactly. So,
rules are for me. This one, well, I've got to hear add this part to the design, and then they're like, oh, but and the boss looks at it and he goes, oh, it's absolutely perfect, apart from that thing you just added, and it's in every architecture and designer film, and it really fucking annoys me. And I was going to add it as best trope, but I might not be.
Right, okay, a teaser for the trope we want to die later.
It's angered.
It annoys me because it happens every time.
And speaking of that sort of stuff, it's also not my trope I want to see die. Why did Billy lie about his meeting/date with the boss? Why didn't he just say, look, my supervisor, she wants to go out and do this sort of stuff. It's all work related. You and me have been together for 6 years. We've moved to New York together. We're only reason we're not married is we don't blah, 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 blah. It's a work thing. I'll be home by 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whatever time he's getting home by. But no, he has to lie. Oh, so that's a meeting. Blah, blah, blah. This again, every single episode, lies and assumptions. It's always where people fall down in movies and TV shows. Just tell everybody what's going on. Like, what's she going to say?
No. She kissed him right there. Why would you not go like that and try and wipe it off instead of walking about with a big red lipstick on his face?
The whole way home. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's one thing about having phones nowadays is you look at your phone when you're bored and you catch your reflection every so often. So maybe that's
my low point is ultimately her story. Like her, to be fair, in general, just like there's no need for her to be fair.
Just Phoebe Cates.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, can we get Phoebe Cates back? We can. Oh, brilliant. And so what about these gremlins?
Yeah, it's like she's literally shoehorned in there, pointless, doesn't actually do anything, doesn't add anything to it.
Disappears for half an hour.
Yeah.
As well. There's part of she's like the elevator bit that I was talking about when you were gone there. And then we don't see her for absolutely ages. Yeah. And she comes out the lift. Like, what, you've been in there the whole time? So yeah.
Speaking of your rules, this is a complete thing about
God, here it goes.
The guy from Clopit, the Barbs, Clopit guy. He got fired for smoking, and she's walking about with a fag around inside of her mouth through the entire film.
Because it was an undesignated break, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
It wasn't smoking. It was just because he was.
Just because it popped up with combustion on the screen, I thought it was like, oh, he's going to set something on fire.
Again, I think it was. I think a seniority thing. I think she's allowed to because she's working. He was actually just standing doing nothing outside. I guess maybe, like Andy says, it was maybe more the break than it was the actual smoking aspect of it. I only have one real low point beyond what I've said, but it is all encompassing. The film is basically just bits. It's like, I've got an idea for this. Oh, brilliant, we'll put that in there. Yeah, it's a sketch show of a movie. It's like, oh, I've got a brilliant idea for this. I actually didn't mean, there are a few character arcs in the film that go really well. Grandpa Fred being the best one. Really, we should mention him. That he starts off as, oh, I'm at my lowest here, blah, blah, blah. All I ever wanted to do was this. And the events of the film lead him to be able to do the news, and he gets his news anchor job. There's a lovely little storyline. And a couple others weave in and out, which are quite good. But yeah, the majority of the 1 hour 40 minutes is just, I've got a great idea. We could have a gremlin do this. Oh, fantastic. Oh, we could parody this with two gremlins. Oh, fantastic. And it's like, it's fun, it's enjoyable, but as a film, It's a bit sketch showy.
You
like
can tell
I
they're
said.
forced. Right.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
makes no sense whatsoever. It's like, we'll stick these two gremlins here, make them doing this, and then you never
Yeah.
see them again.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah, they invent
that-
gremlins for a gag.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it works in this high-tech building, though. It gives them opportunity to do anything.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I really have no low points beyond that. So any others?
Another
fire out.
unnecessary musical number. That's my low point.
No, that was good.
I quite liked it,
Yeah,
and it really did overstay its welcome. Like you could,
I know. We broke him. He got really excited and we killed him every single time this happens.
thought the
Yeah.
musical number was fine.
There we go. He's back. Yeah. My low point is the Gremlins don't seem as vicious in this one as they did in the first one. They killed everybody. Like in the
I think they've like toned this one down. Like the
Yeah,
first one, I
like that-
remember it being more darker than
Well,
this
it was. They just like I said, we killed that woman in the thing. They were bell ends and they were out for blood. Whereas this one, they just seem to have a bit of a laugh this time.
one. I just wanted to cause chaos. That was it.
Yeah.
They didn't want to really hurt anybody.
You're right. They did kill Mrs. Deagle in the first one. She deserved it. But we
Yes.
actually picked up on the first one that the Gremlins were just out for chaos. Like they didn't act like you're talking about being as bloodthirsty and all that. We kind of picked
thought
up
they were.
that the Gremlins. No,
Yeah.
like they weren't actually that evil. They were just out like and that's why we laughed because there's like half of them spent half the film in the pub in the first one.
Oh, I suppose
And-
they do.
And then poor old Kate's working behind the bar and they're ordering drinks and all that sort of stuff. And she's just serving them. Like they're
I
crazy,
think it's
they're
the odd
manic.
one. Like
Yeah.
Stripe in the first one, he was one that tried to kill.
I think that
Billy
was the
with
thing.
a chainsaw.
Yeah, because he was more
Yeah.
sinister, and then it was like, whereas this one, it's got Mohawk's kind of just doing his own little thing, but then it's Brain that's just like he becomes like the most like the main one, and he's just a nice guy doing his little TV
Yeah.
interview, explaining what he wants to do.
Speaking
Well,
on
the
behalf
Regency
of his
ones.
on behalf of
Yes.
his
Well,
civilization and all that sort of
Yes.
stuff. So yeah, he basically becomes the president of the Gremlins essentially.
Yes.
But then he's still there to have a good time and sing New York, New York, and all
Yes.
that as well. But yeah,
I've
it's
got
they're not never ever evil. The Gremlins. It's all about having
Yeah.
fun.
I'm hoping Chris's last low point's my low point. So
how the hell did Clap lead a SWAT team into the building with a weapon?
Poorly.
All right, well, that was
Poorly
it.
and slowly.
Yeah, well, I didn't think of that. That's funny though.
I don't know because he's very rich. I
Yeah.
imagine.
With a gun, slapped you could have killed anybody.
Yeah, because he
Oh, what
shoots.
is-
Yeah,
well, the danger's here.
I think it goes like that. Yeah.
right. It wasn't my low point, but it's near there. Enter Gremlins erotica, like was
The very-
gonna-
the very
he
end.
Was, he was definitely going to bang that gremlin, wasn't he?
He was. I had never remembered that last bit really happening. I thought the whole kissing and kind of like when you're a kid and all, you're like, look the funny gremlins kissing and all that sort of stuff. But the very end, like as I don't want to do too much of an impression of it, but he starts sinking down after giving a weird sort of smirky smile thing, and he just starts sinking down, and I'm like, this is a lot
it's
stranger
like
than
a-
I remember it.
Why not? Let's give it a go.
Yeah, why not is an easily answerable question though. If he says why not, it's like because it's a gremlin. That's why
Yes.
not. But yeah, very creepy, very strange, and Robert Picardo will be. I'll raise the question of him again later on this subject. But yeah, I think that's a low point. It wasn't needed. Like it's not that funny, really. It's weird.
It's a
remember
bad
that
way to end
at
a
all.
kind of good ending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually went through the whole credits to see if there was a bit at the end. So this is the kind of film might have a stinger at the end. I said Daffy Duck again, which again
Yes.
was fine. That was worth it.
I just talked about the thing of this.
Yeah. Is that our slow points done?
Yep.
Aye.
Point 4, stats. No shits, no F-bombs. PG-13. The first Gremlins helped invent the PG-13 movie, so this one continued on with... There's bits of swearing, kind of suggestions of goddams and hecks and hells and all that stuff, but no shits or F-bombs. 4 explosions. Can't remember what they were, now that I think about it. One was in the kitchen that sets off the fire alarm, so there was a couple there. But 4 explosions I counted. And deaths, I did not count Gremlins.
Yeah.
However, I do have a number. I counted human deaths, and I've only got 2. I have Mr. Wing, who died. That's how his shop became available. And then Christopher Lee gets electrocuted.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
There are 2 other suggestions of deaths in this film. There's the movie reviewer on the television. Some people suggest he died. The Gremlins appear behind him, but I think they'd just be gremlin-y. I don't think they'd just be like, probably chop his tie in half or something like that, or something silly like that. And then there's the one guy, spoiler for Chrissy's stats, there's a Wilhelm scream in this film.
Yes, there is. It's been a while.
You can tell me I'm wrong, but does a Wilhelm scream not signify a death? I think a Wilhelm scream signifies
Oh,
a death.
yeah.
It normally just signifies a fall from a great height.
Yeah, because that guy gets flipped over
Balcony.
probably a
Balcony,
one-story up balcony.
He's dead.
So he may be dead. So if you want to count him, it's 3 human deaths, I think. No cows, no goats, basically inside the building the entire time. Dead animals. I think only gremlins. I think all the other animals kind of survived in the lab. I don't remember anything else kind of being killed. Chris is pondering it. However, the count seems to be
animals came running out.
440 gremlins died. That was not my number. The internet told me this, but I think 440 gremlins is the. We counted in inverted commas in the first film, Chris, you and I, like 150-ish gremlins. So I think there's probably 3 times as many gremlins in this as there was in the first one. Paedophile. Forster?
Yep.
Like that gremlin's not very old.
Couple hours old.
I think we're all right. But yeah, Robert Picardo, I think. Tom Cruise, Tackleberry, Sarah Connor, trifecta. There are no motorcycles in the film, so everybody. But it would have been Billy.
This was calling out for a motorcycle just to run through that hallway of one of the gremlins on it.
Yeah, exactly. But then the gremlin. I mean, say that the woman gremlin had ridden a motorcycle, she probably would have got the Sarah Connor trifecta.
Yeah, you got the guy as well. Yeah.
What would you call it? The gremlin trifecta?
The gremlin trifecta. Yeah. Did they say the thing? Did they say gremlins in this movie?
We were talking about the first gremlins.
Well, essentially, yes. Yeah. Mr. Futterman says gremlins outside the building. Because the whole time Billy just calls them those things. And then he says Mogwai, Mogwai, Gizmo, Mogwai, Mogwai. But then it's those things. He never says gremlins. So I think it is just the one gremlins at the 1 hour 15 mark when Mr. Futterman's outside. Do they say the thing, the new batch?
No.
They don't. Unless they snuck in a sneaky one talking about some sort of formula or some sort of medicine in the lab before it all kicks off, which I missed. They do not say the new batch. Chris, any other stats from you?
Apart from the Wilhelm scream, Kate is kind of a nut shot, kicks the flasher.
Yeah.
I'm going to say kicks her the balls. And Gizmo's kids are called Daffy, George, Lenny, and Mohawk. George and Lenny are after of Mice and Men.
Right.
The big lips and cigar.
There's the daft one and the kind of miserable one. Yeah. That's the okay. Is that you?
Yeah, I don't know what else to count. There's like, I'm not counting gremlins this time.
Again, yeah. I thought the internet would give me an answer, and it kind of did. So, Andy, a fun fact from you.
The footage right at the very start when it's flying over New York is stock footage from Superman 4.
Superman 4. I really, that's...
Like that.
You slag me for not having seen obvious films. The Superman movies are a gigantic void in my watch history. Man of Steel is the first Superman movie I've seen. I've not seen a single Superman movie.
I've seen the first.
The one that I always remembered is always like, it's a Mr. Jack shout out for people who know.
Mr. Jack.
Yeah.
As he always talks about Superman 2 and Richard Pryor steals the 0.00001 of a pence off of bank transactions. And he thought, I'll do it. And then he does it. And after like an hour in the American banking industry, he was like a billionaire.
Yeah.
And that's the big bad in Superman 2. So it kind of shows you kind of how those films are. They're not like big.
They did an Office Space as well.
Yeah.
I've got a fun fact, which is the movie Police reviewer on the television that I mentioned. He is a real reviewer playing himself, actually repeating his real life review of what he said about Gremlins 1. So the words that comes out that I said at the beginning, which I'll try and refer to in my notes, of what's fun about a movie, not podcast, full of ugly, slimy, mean-spirited, gloppy little monsters who run amok and attack innocent people. Our moviegoers so desperate for entertainment that this trash passes for fun, and then they got him to be in the second one, and he gave the second one 3 stars out of 4. That guy did. So yeah, that's him actually being himself reviewing it as
4.
It seems to be a thing in movies because Roger Ebert, his scale was always out of 4 stars as well. 10 is the ideal movie review range.
Gives you scope. 10.
Yeah, no half points and no movie is a 0. It's these simple rules of movie review. Is that us for stats? I think it is. So over to Andy for point 5 in the 10-point podcast quiz.
Right. Well, I was going to do what Bruce did, is go back and see what my quiz was about in Gremlins 1, which I can't actually remember what it was about.
What was it about? I've just watched it. Chris thought he was cheated in that one again. But
Every time.
Oh, probably.
But anyway, I've came up with something different.
It was just about the film. But
Right, okay. This one is not about the film then. So here we go. It's a new batch of questions. So we did that. Right, who wants to go first?
Me. I want to go first.
Right, Bruce is going first. This is very simple. This is Gremlins 2, the new batch. I'm going to name a film, and it's always going to be the second film, and you've got to tell me the title of the film.
Right, so say
so
it is...
have like a parenthesis.
So say it's Gremlins 2, you would say I would say Gremlins, you'd say Gremlins 2, the new batch.
The new batch. So
it's
the whole thing.
It's not...
The second part is what's important.
Because ultimately it's always going to be the second film.
Cool.
Every single one is about...
Sorry.
Falling out of bed.
So yeah, every one of these questions is about the second film. So
right.
I just need the tagline or whatever, the bit after it.
What makes it a different title, really?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll start off with Bruce. So if I said Hellboy,
already gobbled. Hellboy 2, Return to Hell.
It's not Return to Hell. Chris?
I want to say, is it the Golden Circle or something?
He's close, but no cigar. It was the Golden Army.
Oh, it's nearly Golden Compass, but that's something.
Chris, if I said Back to the Future.
Back to the Future 2, Part 2?
You got it wrong. I'm going to give it to Bruce.
As far as I'm aware, it is Back to the Future Part 2 with
correct.
like Roman numerals.
It's correct, right, okay.
Yes. Oh, was that it? Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yep. You overcomplicated it, Chris. You added 2 and it was just part. It was Part 2 is what I was looking for. But when you added the extra 2 and you got it wrong. Bruce, if I said Underworld.
Again, I'm gubbed. Underworld. It's like Revolution.
Oh no. I'm sure that is one.
Could be
Rise of the Lycans.
Not Rise of the Lycans. It was just simple as Underworld Evolution.
Oh, can't be any closer.
Yeah, I know. Chris, if I said The Crow.
I didn't realise there was a sequel. Crow 2.
Well, it's kind of the point, Chris, but no, it's not The Crow 2. I need the tagline for it.
No, I don't do that. But you have a guess. I'm not a big Crow guy. I've seen
The
Crow.
It was The Crow, City of Angels.
Right, okay.
Right, Bruce. If I said Terminator.
Right.
I've been waiting for this entire time.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Correct. Right. Chris. If I said Triple X.
Is it Triple X2 Next Level?
I'll give you that. Yes, it is Triple X the Next Level, or you could have had in the US the State of Union. Because for some reason,
really,
I've never heard of that one.
But yes, it's Triple X Next Level. Bruce, Harry Potter.
So you are saying Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Is that what you're saying to me? So I would then say Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Correct.
Yes.
Chris. The Hunger Games.
Games.
I think it's that. I think I know
it. Mockingjay.
It's not Mockingjay.
Is it Hunger Games Catching Fire?
It is Hunger Games Catching Fire. Right, Bruce.
This is an absolute drubbing.
The Boss Baby.
Oh. The Boss Baby 2. New Hire.
It's not New Hire, Chris.
Was it a new boss?
No, it was Family Business. Chris. Rambo.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, this is a belt of this one.
Rambo. Is First for Blood?
Nope. Bruce.
No,
Nah.
I think the first one's not even called Rambo. I think it is just called First Blood, but it may have been retconned to be called Rambo First Blood. So I think the second one is called Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Correct. But
Yeah.
right in both accounts.
Yes. Which is hilarious.
Bruce.
First Blood Part 2 is incredible title.
Madagascar.
Oh no. It's like I'm gonna give it to Chris Pike. It's the something of like, is it the something of King Julian? I don't know what the something is.
Nope. Chris.
No.
Escape to Africa with the number 2.
Is it a King Julian one, or am I mad?
No, I think you made that shit up.
It's a TV series, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
the King Julian TV
Still
series.
that,
Right. A couple more.
Right, fair enough.
Chris. Indiana Jones.
Oh, fuck. I'm gonna get this. It's not that one.
Bit of a trick question.
Oh my god. All I've got in my head is Cradle of Filth for some reason.
Cradle of Filth.
It's not Indiana Jones.
It's not that. No. Cradle of Filth, where it becomes like a
Right,
metal
Bruce, could you
basis.
get the trick question right?
Well, this is a trick because the Indiana Jones isn't the first one. The first one's just called Raiders of the Lost Ark. It doesn't have the prefix of Indiana Jones. So technically, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom would be the second one.
Correct. That's what I was looking for.
Right. Okay. Fantastic.
Right. Bruce. Star Wars.
Right. You said Star Wars, so The Empire Strikes Back.
Correct.
Yes.
Right, Chris. See if you can get one. If I said
I'll get one.
Cloverfield.
I don't know. Danger level? I don't fucking know.
He's lost it. He's lost it.
And
Bruce.
Cloverfield, it would then be 10 Cloverfield Lane.
It's 10 Cloverfield Lane. I'll give one more to Chris just to see if you can actually get one right.
I've got one. I've got one or two.
He has got one right.
Yeah, but you've been dropped.
Yeah.
Give him a Chris one. The Hobbit.
Oh, that's yeah. Is it?
Oh, mine's gone
No,
black. I've got the DVDs downstairs. It's not
The Hobbit, The Cradle
Armies.
of Filth.
He's gone. I love it when he says a downward spiral in a quiz.
I do.
It happens to the best of us.
Right, go, Bruce. Finish it off for him.
Adventure.
Desolation of Smaug, or The Desolation of
That was it,
Smaug?
yeah.
It is the Desolation of Smaug.
The
There you
Desolation
go.
of Chris.
I've had like a major brain fart tonight.
You just
Do you know
that was
what?
it
Through
gone.
this entire thing, I was sitting there going,
Terminator.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
And once it was
And
gone, it was
came,
gone.
And it's gone, and I was like, I don't know any films, what's happening?
If I really wish Tomb Raider would come up, so he could have
I know.
said Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Filth, and you could have been like, no.
That'd be like 21 Jump Pilots again.
Yeah. 21 Jump Pilots, fantastic. 9-1, that was.
Fucking hell.
An all-time
That was
high.
amazing.
Point 6, redeem yourself, Chris. You can beat me at the 10-point
Oh.
podcast universe, so I'm positive I don't have everybody.
I'm going to rattle through a lot because there's a lot of them again. So Mark Dodson, who does Gremlins, he was in Gremlins as a Mogwai/Gremlins. Frank Welker, if you want to know about him, just watch Godzilla.
Gremlins, Roger Rabbit, Tremors, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Godzilla, Mortal Kombat, Tank Girl, DuckTales for Frank Welker.
Nice.
Hall of Fame contention for Frank Welker.
I've watched this twice. I still haven't seen him, but apparently he's in it. Bubba Smith, who plays himself, who was in Police Academy 4 as Hightower.
Oh, really? Okay.
No
Yeah.
idea.
And he's in it somewhere, apparently. I googled it. And
Well,
there's
I've
a
got-
picture of him.
I've got a couple too that are a bit like that. So
Hulk Hogan
Yep.
was in Suburban Commando with Shep Ramsey. Henry Gibson, who was the smoker, got fired. He was in The Barbs as Dr. Klopek, and I forgot about this one completely.
you never let him forget that ever.
Blues Brothers as the head Nazi.
Head Nazi. That makes him Hall of Fame contention, and the
Yeah.
fact that Chris always remembers him as Mr. Klopek, I think he might have an outside chance.
Again, I didn't see him, but Dean Norris, who was a SWAT leader.
He is the one that shoots the gremlin and goes, "It moved, sir." That's Dean Norris. Because I was like, "Oh my god, it's Hank."
His voice sounded familiar,
Yeah.
but Starship Troopers as a commanding officer and Total Recall as Tory.
Hall of Fame, but unlikely, I would say. But Dean Norris in the discussion for the future.
Raymond Cruz, who was a delivery guy, also more known as Tuco Salamanca.
Tuco Salamanca again.
Under Siege is Ramirez. Kenneth Tobey, who was a projectionist, it comes running down. He was the gas station attendant in Gremlins.
All right.
Belinda Bolaski, who was the mum in the theatre, she was also in Gremlins as Mrs. Harris. Who I thought was the one that died, but you said it was Mrs. Deagle. So
Mrs. Deagle was the bad one,
yeah. Rick Ducommun, who was a security guard, was in Last Action
one that gets
Hero
bitten on the
as-
nose. He's the one that gets bitten on the nose.
Everybody else will know him as Sidney's dad in Scary Movie.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
He was in Last Action Hero as Ripper's agent. He was in The Burbs as well as Art
Released.
Weingartner.
He was the neighbor, one of the main characters in The Burbs was Rick Ducommun.
And he was in Die Hard as a city
I
worker.
don't know him as strongly.
Jerry Goldsmith, who was a yogurt customer, was in Gremlins as Man in Booth. Patricia Dabo was also a yogurt customer who was in The Burbs as Arch's wife.
Burbs.
Heather Haas, who was a yogurt jerk, was in The Burbs as Ricky's girlfriend.
Probably related to the writer as well.
Right.
Kathleen Freeman, who was the microwave Marge, was in Blues Brothers as Sister Stigmata.
She's the penguin.
Yep.
Okay.
Doesn't know Blues Brothers, clearly.
Remember
Head nun. The head nun
Aye.
of Blues Brothers.
Ah,
That's what she was.
Key Luke was obviously Mr. Wing in both films.
Mhm.
Jackie Joseph, who was Mrs. Futterman in both films, was also in Police Academy 4 as Mrs. Kirkland.
Do you know who that
Dick
is? Who Mrs. Kirkland was?
Yeah,
That's
she's the one-
Tackleberry's mother-in-law. That's who
Yeah.
she is in. So she's Hall of Fame eligible. 2 roles in the Gremlins movies and Tackleberry's mother-in-law.
should discount the same role in different sequels.
Really, yeah.
Dick Miller, who is Mr. Futterman in both films, was also in Burbs as a garbage man, Terminator as a pawn shop guy. As previously mentioned, Robert Picardo was in Total Recall as Johnny Cab. He was also in The Burbs as well as a garbage man.
He was. That's him Hall of Fame eligible as well, by the way.
Robert Prosky, who was Grandpa Fred, was in Last Action Hero was Nick. And Phoebe Cates and Zach Galligan played the same in both films.
I missed Howie Mandel because he was the Mogwai in both, obviously. Did you see Archie Han at any point?
Nope.
He's like the blonde-haired
Yes.
guy that helps out Robert Picardo. He was in The Burbs and Misery. I don't know if you missed you seeing him,
totally
but he's
said that.
another guy who was in The Burbs. If you missed him, and then you've missed 2 others. I think 2 others: Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. You missed them.
I looked at them. What film have they been in?
Roger Rabbit or Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Ah, fuck, so they were.
So if you count them as the stars, Bugs and Daffy were in that film. I don't know if it's the same voice actors or not. Presumably it is, but I don't know. But yes, millions, and this is why I'm weaning myself off the 10-point podcast universe because everybody's getting repeats. Have you recast?
Podcast.
Yes, have you recast us into the film, Chris? Because I don't really know what to do with this one.
Andy is Clamp. Like, I genuinely feel like this is the kind of empire that he's trying to build with all these little hustles.
That would
on
be
the
nice,
go.
though.
That's the difference.
I'd be out of that place, not bother running back in.
Chris, I put you as Leonard Maltland, the movie review guy.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take it.
I struggled with myself. I literally just put myself as Mr. Futterman because he's a bit of a wild card.
You're definitely behind Bruce.
That's Chris, is it?
That's Chris.
See
That's
Daffy.
how I picture him
I'll take
every
that.
single time when he's talking.
Especially with a couple of beers in him. That's what it's like. Yes, I was going to go
That's
Mr.
Chris.
Brain fart, yeah.
I was going to give myself Mr. Futterman as well, so I'm happy with taking. I'll take that. Movies this film references, parodies,
Everything.
actually shows within it a whole bunch. Rambo: First Blood, Dracula, Frankenstein, King Kong, Die Hard, It's a Wonderful Life, Batman, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Phantom of the Opera, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, The Wolfman, Casablanca, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Alvin and the Chipmunks, which I hadn't noticed before, Star Trek, That's the Noise the Doors Make, and in New York. New York, does this film reference The Wizard of Oz? I was worried, but at the 1 hour, 34 minute mark, a gremlin melts and with a witch's hat on and says, I'm melting. That seems to be the number one Wizard of Oz reference.
Yeah.
Is that like I think it's come up most often? Is that could the film have come out in 1995? It could have done quite easily. I said Gremlins 1 couldn't have done because this one didn't make any money. But if they delayed this to 1995, futuristic building, probably after Die Hard with a Vengeance at that point. I think I could be wrong in that. I'm not sure what year that came out.
4?
Earlier than 5, I think. Yeah, but I think it could have worked in 1995. It might have made more money. People might have been yearning for Gremlins a bit more had it come out a couple of years later. So I think it could have done. Dead Man Walking. Well, the Gremlins.
I just remember another low point.
This
was the film that ultimately made me get a Furby. Because Furbies kind of came out and I was like, why every one of them Furbies? And then I just remember this film, like not the first one, this film's particularly going, Mogwais are awesome, I want one. And then it was that end scene where it's like, oh, you should do this and do that. And then Furbies were everywhere and then you couldn't get them. And then I did end up selling my Furby and making money on it. So it was all good. But they were shit compared to real Mogwais.
Definitely. Dead Man Walking, it was hard. Like, really, the only two people died. I don't know if I didn't ever think that the old Chinese guy was going to die until about a second before he actually died. Like,
I thought Mr. Clamp until he turned into be a kind of good guy. Straight away, when he's building up to be a big bad, he's like, oh, he's getting Gremlins.
I guess so, yeah. But yeah, the Gremlins, they were always dead men walking, obviously. Who's in the wrong movie? Phoebe Cates is in the wrong movie. She didn't need to come back for this. It kind of works. It's like, it's nice to keep Billy and Kate together, I guess, but she doesn't really do anything. Otherwise, the Futtermans are kind of running around. They don't really need to be there either. Like, he doesn't really come in. Billy could easily just have fired the hose
They come
himself.
to visit some random people.
Their neighbours' kids, exactly. But he was in town for something, wasn't he? It was Murray. It was in town for a thing, like a reunion or something like that. And they must have been like, "Oh, you can stay with our kids, like the neighbours. Our kids, they live in New York. Can stay over there." And immediately they got ushered out, and they were like, "Oh, they were very happy to go." So, oh, thank God, we don't have to stay in someone else's house. I'd rather be in a hotel, which I think a lot of people can relate to. And which trope would we like to see die from this movie? For me, the last holdout on a property development. That's a very big movie trope that lean on. Up being the most poignant one, I would say. Chris, what's your trope that needs to die?
It's been mentioned already, but people just succumbing to creepy advances. Like Forrester just be like sitting there going, I'm just gonna have sex with a gremlin. He literally just had to put his foot through it and he was fine. He could just leave.
Absolutely. So. Andy, what's your trope that needs to die?
It doesn't happen in too many films, but it's now starting to annoy me. SWAT team, they go, hut.
Yeah.
They're meant to be tactical and silent, but it seems like, obviously, Blues Brothers was funny. I've seen this in probably 5 or 6 films now. This is like,
South Park is the one I always think of. Where they always do that. Point 7, that one thing. What is the one thing about Gremlins 2, the new batch, that is its one thing? Chris, what's your one thing?
I'm saying that, I'm with Chris.
Rambo Gizmo?
Yeah, Rambo Gizmo.
I've just gone Die Hard with Gremlins, which is, I think, that's what I always remember this film is Die Hard with a bunch of Gremlins.
It's either this or the talking Gremlin.
Yeah, I guess maybe the talking one. Yeah, maybe, or the Gremlins ending the film in the middle. I always remember that bit as well. But I think it's what the film is. I was like, oh, that's the mad one in the building. I was thinking. Point 8, nominations for the Pointy Awards. Chris, you lead us off when we argue with you. I have got spaces that need to be filled here, I think. So give me some suggestions.
I've got a few as well. I've done any acting ones.
I have a supporting. I think we've not mentioned her. I think Haviland Morris as Marla, the smoking boss.
He didn't like her at all, Andy. He mentioned
I like her, but
I think she's really good at what she has to do in this film. She kind of plays the character well.
To be fair, all women in this film are pointless.
Well, exactly. Even the Gremlin one.
Yeah.
But I want to put her forward. I think she was really good at what she was supposed to do. And she didn't know that kind of character's kind of annoying. I kind of feel like she had a purpose. You knew what she was thinking at all times. And then she kind of turns kind of good and has a wee story at the end and she gets promoted. And I think it's all very happy.
I'm putting down Gizmo.
Well, I put Gizmo down as most underused because he's not in it that much.
Good shot. I had Phoebe Cates, but you're right. I think it's Gizmo. I think you're right. Phoebe Cates isn't in the film, whereas he's underused. It's a total. Everybody's underused. Like it's a total ensemble cast. It's all about sketches. Oh, let's hire Robert Prosky and he can be this. Let's hire Robert Ricardo. Let's get Christopher Lee in if we can, and he can be kind of creepy. And like it's all just gags and bits. So everybody's underused, but Gizmo is the star and he's barely in it. I agree.
Sweet. Best death, I put the Shredder Gremlin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
That's a good one. It's messy.
Best in animal. Nah, fuck it. I was just going to think of his bow, but no.
Best weapon.
Best weapon.
That's the best weapon. Worst plan. I put demolishing the Emporium without clearing it out. Like,
yeah, I think so.
Mine's is picking up random street creatures and putting them in your building.
There is that an extension of that. It's just when Billy leaves Gizmo alone, like he admits it in the film. It's like
he knows how easy things can turn.
Yeah, Gizmo, stay in that drawer that I know you won't do. I'm going to go tell Kate to come and get you. It's like, why don't you just take him with you?
Yeah.
They look after Gizmo. I need to go. Like, how hard it be? Or just say to Marla, just like, oh no, I can't. Sorry. Maybe Tuesday.
Like, she nearly went full rapey, so.
Yeah.
Best twist, I put Clamp wasn't a dick.
I suppose.
He could easily have been a dick.
Especially because they kind of built up that he's never there. You always see him through a screen. No one's ever actually been in the room with him. And he's actually just an eccentric billionaire.
Biggest jump scare. I don't want to talk about the game, so dang, I shit myself. I put best special effects as like Gizmo / Gremlins because they were definitely improved.
Practical and CGI amazing.
All of the puppetry and all that, everything to do with puppets is exceptional.
It's just the worst. It's more a sound effect, not a special effect. But when Gizmo is in the drawer tinkering with the paperclip thing, it does the sound of like a car garage. It goes as he's like making a paperclip chain. It just annoyed me for some reason.
That's his nitpick of the week.
Yep.
The worst effect is that. Best set, I put Clamp Tower.
Oh yeah. It's really. I always think you get an idea. It's not as obvious as some films, but again, it's one of my ticks a good box for a good film is getting a fair idea of the space that the film's existing in. It's like there's a lab there, the lobby's down there, the offices are in here, Mr. Clamp's office is up there. It's like I quite like.
His office was so high it was above the clouds.
Yeah, and he's got a secret tunnel that somehow comes out in the pavement. I don't know how that
Amazing.
works. Which is my best exit, by the way, is him taking that secret exit. It comes up the pavement.
Best camera, I put Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
Yes, I think it is. Yes, it is.
Most unexpected, I put Tuco turning up again.
So Danny John Jules, small mention, one I didn't see, but apparently Isaiah Whitlock Jr. is a fireman. That's the shit guy.
Ah, sure. Yes.
Apparently he's a fireman somewhere, but I didn't see him. But yeah, Tuco Salamanca showing up is Danny John Jules, I'm afraid. Again, this after him showing up in Under Siege out of nowhere. So
so close to Michael Pena word of Kate's Abe Lincoln story.
Yeah, I know, we got cut off, didn't we? Yeah.
Best voice work, I put Tony Randall for the smart gremlin.
Yes, it's definitely him. I thought we'd done him before when I saw the name Tony Randall written down, but we haven't.
Best animal, I put Gizmo.
Yep.
I think we ruled out puppets in the past, but there isn't a better option because we gave it to the Barney the dog from the first one because he was an actual dog. But I'm happy to go with Gizmo.
Or that smart cow that's speaking his mind.
What?
The cow the cow that walks past and he's got his little thing on and he's like saying what he wants when he walks past the screen in the lab.
I never noticed that.
Do you not notice that?
I didn't count any cows either.
There was a cow.
Like, for the
I've never seen a cow. But
there's a cow. There's a cow with like.
Did no one tell me there was a cow?
There's a cow with a colander on its head, and it walks past, and it's like it says something because it's saying what it's thinking.
Ah, right. Okay. So there's a cow. For those keeping track.
Hey, I was like something. Yeah.
Oh no, I don't remember that.
Okay, that's the best animal now. Then I'm sorry, Gizmo.
Smart cow.
Smart cow.
Worst accent, I put Marla's.
Nah, I'm not having any abuse of Marla. She was fine. It's an annoying accent, but she's doing it well.
Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Most obvious name is Mohawk.
Yeah, good show. Yeah. All the other ones have actual names, like you've just listed. Yeah, he's just you got funny here, Mohawk.
There's a few here. So best name. It started off as there's an actor called Dick Butkus.
Yeah, he's a former American football player.
He got trumped by Eric Shawn. There's a guy in this film called Eric Shawn.
That has to be a joke. There's no way. I'm not having that. IMDb. So keep going.
I'll find it for you. But that character-wise, the monkeys were called named after chipmunks. Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. Was it a
They
Theodore?
were.
Just Alvin. No,
Now,
Alvin and
Eric
Theodore.
Shawn has an IMDb page. However, it's only Gremlins 2, the new batch he's in. So I think someone's. No,
There's a
there's
lot of
details
people
here.
in that, by the way.
No, I'm talking nonsense here. That's just what he's known for. Yeah, he's another stuff as well. Eric Shawn. That's hilarious.
And I was going to create a new award, the Chewbacca Award. The It Doesn't Make Sense Award. It's a South Park thing. It does not make sense. Is the Klopek getting fired for smoking outside, but Marley just wanders around about smoking away?
Bloody Klopek. Oh, I want the Klopek as unexpected.
So I'm bringing that next year, the Chewbacca Award.
The
The Chewbacca Award.
Does not make sense.
Exactly.
Best Badass, Gizmo.
Yep.
Best exit I've done. Best Plan. Now, you can argue with me, but I have a reason behind it. Is there sunlight plan that they had, which they abandoned just because it rained?
Yeah.
Like there still would have been light outside, but it might not be direct sunlight, obviously. But what's so good about the plan is it's the Gremlins being hoisted by their own petard, as in the first film, they mess with the clocks so that Billy thinks it's not midnight yet. So in this film, they mess with the clocks so the Gremlins think it's not dark yet. And I think that's a genius plan to come up with that.
It is.
And I think it still might have worked, I think.
Yes.
So I think the sunlight plan was a good plan because of that. I've got a best product placement, Andy, so I will come back to you. Best song, Angel of Death by Slayer for best song. The soundtrack's really good. There's some real... Yeah, and I was concerned that it wasn't coming back, but it did. It came back when the dentist gremlin, my boy Gaffy was doing dentistry, came back. But the whole soundtrack, there's other bits of music that are really good in it as well. Done the biggest bell end is Forster. Not only because of the weird stuff with the gremlin at the end, but how he is with Billy beforehand is just utter bell end. It's like everything you do is just against the rules. You're horrible. What an idiot. Why are you doing it? So he's a bell end for that. Most intelligent, because I do have Schubin's character, the most intelligent is the smart gremlin.
Yep.
Unsung hero. I think Murray Futterman is the unsung hero here.
I had him as unsung hero. Where was him? I don't know.
Yeah, like he got like the first kind of gargoyle gremlin, the bat one, that cut his head like open, and he just runs around the city saving the day for the rest of the film.
But I do have a counter. The cleaning staff.
Because
that's
I can't always be. I think we're going to nominate them for every film though. They've already been nominated.
It's going to take a lot of cleanup after this. It was the construction workers in the Godzilla film.
Did you have worse science, Chris?
No, he didn't.
I'm going to say that electric one though.
Okay, I'll put that in with it. But I've just got everything in the lab. Like we'll inject this bit of cheese with electricity, and then that's how the other one gets like injected with electricity. Yeah. Drink this, it'll make you a bat. Drink this, it'll make you smart. It's just like obvious science.
Something to make you vegetables.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And why does he keep burping now that he's vegetables? I don't understand. But it's the weird science is just convenient potions in the lab. The
stupidest character is a scientist, because in what world is that a laugh? Is this thing going?
Yeah. So annoying. Best product placement, Andy. What is the best product placement in the film?
Well, it started off with Coca-Cola in Times Square. Then there was
always Coca-Cola.
Burger King in the background. However, the one I think wins is Lego.
Yes, me too. Absolutely Lego.
Because I was like, no, that's Burger King. But they just built a Lego gremlin and it had Lego. Lego probably wasn't as big as it is now. Like, it's one of them weird things that's like disappeared, but now it's came back with a vengeance. So Lego wins.
Lego. Definitely Lego. Point 9 on the podcast is the moral of the story. I have 3 morals of the story that the film literally told us. So you can come to me last. Andy, what's your moral of the story of Gremlins 2?
Don't eat after midnight.
Okay. Chris, what is your moral of the story?
If you want to find something weird, go downtown.
Yeah, that was one of them. A man can this is our main man, Mr. Wing, and I very much disagree with what the hell he's talking about here. A man can always agree with others. It is more difficult to agree with oneself. That's just nonsense. Like, that's just words. Like, there's no poignant
This is like
message
your
there.
Chinese proverbs again, or whatever you were doing.
Exactly.
I know
yeah.
your Japanese haikus, wasn't it?
That was haikus, yes. But the one I'm going for, moral of the story, the moral of Gizmo, to survive war, you gotta become war. That was the moral of the story. 10th point on the podcast is the 10-point rating when we rate the film out of 10. I've got me first, Andy second, Chris third. I'll go first. I don't have any little blurb written down here. I really, really love this film. It's not one of my favourite films. I wouldn't say, oh yes, Gremlins 2 the new batch, got to have it in my favourite films, but I always enjoy myself watching it, and I could barely scratch low points. So because of the sketch show nature of it, I can't make it really, really high. So I'm going 8 out of 10. Always a good time had with the Gremlins new batch. Andy, what's your score?
8.
8 from Andy as well.
Same reasons.
Same reasons as above. Chris?
I've always remembered Gremlins 2 more than the first one, but watching this time, I mean,
It's
like,
getting old.
it's all disjointed and stuff.
Okay.
I preferred the first one, so I can't.
Oh,
I'm giving it a 6. It's
6.
It's the same. I guess it's the same rating I gave the first one, but I prefer the first one to this one.
No, that works. Yeah, definitely. 22 points in total. 7 out of 10 for Gremlins 2, the new batch.
That's fair.
Fair. I would say fair. Yes, I think I could have maybe convinced myself to give it a 9. Really, if you guys had convinced me talking here, I might go on to 9 because it's kind of perfect at what it is, but it's not a perfect film necessarily. But 7 out of 10 for Gremlins 2, and I believe that's my last selection. I have no theme.
Okay.
I didn't have a theme. Gremlins 2, The Terminator, The Wizard of Oz, Wet Hot American Summer, and Friday the 13th. They were my 5. There's not really anything.
Nothing.
What's the newest film I picked? I think Wet Hot American Summer is the newest thing I picked this season. I went kind of classic. Some gaps that we haven't seen yet. I have a theme for next year, though, so I'm looking forward more to next year. My next 5 are a winner. I'm looking forward to it. But yes, I think I've scored quite well. I think I've picked some popular ones, and then horror aside, I guess I picked some popular ones. So no theme for me. It's not all in one day movies. However, this is near enough all in one day. I think about
almost. Yeah.
There's the bit at the beginning, and then 6 weeks later, and it's all in the one day again. So
because
that was
Billy gets arrested for a few hours.
Oh, you're right. He does. It's the next day, isn't it? Yeah. So it's not all one day. Next time, we've had like a 2-week build-up, maybe even a 3-week build-up to this. Andy, I shall say no more. Andy, you are next with your final pick.
Right. So my theme is people we've not done before. However, there is a couple of people that feature quite heavily in this film that we have done before. However,
as long as there's one.
There's 2. I'm pretty sure there's 2 definitely, and they feature quite heavily in the film as well, so we're fine.
Good.
However, time to get the Christmas ball rolling. Because this is a film that it's always on during Christmas, kind of New Year. It's always in the holiday season. Yeah. And it's got a perfect holiday message as well. And I was always going to pick this film, but somebody teed me up this season.
Ooh.
So this is, Chris is thinking.
I am.
It stars, did I say who it stars? No, I'm just going to say the title. Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
As soon as you said someone's teed me up, I'm like, he's going to do Terminator 2.
I'm always going to do it. And I was
wanted me to do that as my Inception, the final Inception one.
I was just like, nope, I need to be like, I'm doing it no matter what. It's always on Christmas. I love it. It's a Christmas film, no matter what people say. This is my diehard Christmas film.
So are you going to argue during the podcast that it's a Christmas film, or is it just because it's like The Great Escape, it's on at Christmas?
I know it's got a massive Christmas message all the way through it.
Right, okay.
Okay. I'll talk about it.
We'll get into that, yes. I now need to so I had that's now Big Lebowski and Judgment Day off of future plans, both gone for me recently, so I need to rethink.
There has to be at least one Christmas tree in this film to class as a Christmas film.
No, there's not one Christmas tree. It's got a Christmas message. It's got a Christmas theme to this film.
Look in the background of the future scenes. There might be a Christmas tree somewhere behind John Connor in the future. I don't know. Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
You made it easier for when you picked Terminator.
Absolutely. Fast forward.
I was going to be the first one to do it. I'm going to jump this because I don't like Terminator 1. I like Terminator 2, so I'm jumping it.
Save me a pick down the line, so it's coming off.
It's a shame I didn't switch from the last 2 picks because we could have gone Terminator into Terminator 2 if I knew this wasn't Christmassy and did it last week and left Terminator till now. That'd be funny. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Have I got a Blu-ray? I might not even have the Blu-ray of this. I've got a DVD. I've got my DVD set, my 4 for £5.
Watched this
whatever
for
it
a
was.
week after Terminator.
That's what he did, yeah. That's right. I feel like I've already watched the first 5 minutes, if you remember my arguments at the end of the first film. Terminator 2, Judgment Day. I'll finally get this podcast wrapped up. Watch it over the next 7 days, and we'll see you next time on the 10 Point Podcast.